Hello, fellow peasants. So, I'm on my way to Burger King, and while I'm on the way there, I'm going to review 1986's Manhunter. Alright guys, so I just got done watching Manhunter. This came out in 1986. It's directed by Michael Mann. Starring William Peterson. You might know William Peterson as Grissom in the old CSI series from the early to mid 2000s. So basically, Manhunter is the story before Silence of the Lambs. And so William Peterson plays a detective named Will Graham, who is a retired FBI agent who lives down in the Florida Keys with his son and his wife, and he's kind of out of the game. He doesn't really want to keep doing the serial killer thing. He's mentally scarred from the work that he previously did, and he just wants to chillax. But an old FBI buddy of his shows up one day to his house on the beach and says, "Look at these photos. This guy's killing on a lunar cycle. He waits till certain moon phases to kill. We need your help to catch this guy before the next lunar phase. If we didn't think we needed your help, we wouldn't ask, but we really need your expertise." He's hesitant to take the job, but he ends up taking the job because his FBI buddy says, "Look, I promise I'll keep you as far away from this guy as possible. I'll make sure that you are as unaffiliated with the case as possible, so that way this freak can't track you down, track your family down, get your family involved in this." And so Will Graham starts going to some of the murder scenes, looking at the evidence. Now, some of the other detectives have been to these scenes previously, but they're not quite as good as he is. Will Graham is good at getting into the head, the psyche of the serial killer, and looking at the murder from their perspective, which is why he quit, because he's so good at getting into the mind of a serial killer that it mentally fucked him up, and so he quit. So he starts going to these houses, analyzing the evidence, getting into the head of the killer, and starts piecing things together that they haven't pieced out or pieced together before. And so basically, the killer in this is a guy named Francis Dollarhide. He is an older guy who works at a video shop, and he gets access to these videotapes, and that's how he finds out. That's how he's choosing some of the victims, some of the home videotapes that run across his desk. He finds the families enticing, and he wants to kill them. And so he's choosing these families to murder from these home videotapes that he finds. But it takes a while for Will Graham to track him down and figure all that out. But he calls himself the Red Dragon because he feels that the more he kills, the more that he will ascend and become this godlike entity called the Red Dragon. And so he thinks that he will become godlike or whatever. And the movie is great. In 2004, there was a remake of this called Red Dragon. Red Dragon is actually the original title of the novel, I believe. I'm not sure why Michael Mann decided to go with the title Manhunter in 1986. Maybe Red Dragon was just a bit too much, too abstract for general audiences. Maybe they wanted something a little more action sounding, something a little more 80s, Manhunter. That sounds more understandable than Red Dragon. That Red Dragon might just sound too artsy fartsy, whatever, for general audiences. Maybe that's why Michael Mann changed the title of the film. I like the 2004 remake. I think it's really good. I like both films. There's things I like and dislike about each version. I will do a comparison video of both films I'm going to pit them against one another and tell you which one I like the most, because I'm actually going to review Red Dragon at some point this week, and then after that I'm going to do a comparison video between the both. I'm going to tell you which one I like the most, compare them, and then after that I will do Silence of the Lambs, and then I will do Hannibal. So I'm gonna do all 4 movies. So Manhunter, Red Dragon, then Silence of the Lambs, and then Hannibal. But anyway, back to the movie. What do I like? What do I not like about Manhunter? What I like about Manhunter is the story. Excellent story. Excellent true crime forensics murder story. You really want to get involved in the story, piece it together. Like, you're kind of like, some things you know ahead of time than the detectives, and other things you're piecing it together with them. So it's nice to figure out things in real time while the detectives are figuring it out. I like the cinematography in it. Michael Mann always does a great job at cinematography. His films are shot beautifully. Even though this film is from the 80s, the look of it is beyond its time in some ways. Like, sometimes, especially in some of the labs and in certain scenes, there's just like, wow, like this looks like it could have been shot like just a few years ago. Like, this doesn't look that outdated. Like, this looks really good. Like, Michael Mann's always been on the cutting edge, and things are very trendy and hip. I mean, keep in mind, Michael Mann is also the director of the Miami Vice series, and Miami Vice was known for its very trendy, hip, cutting edge cinematography and style. So his films always look fairly modern and ahead of their time. That being said, there are some things that do come across very outdated in 80s in this film as well. But the acting, the performance by William Peterson is excellent. I put it right up there with the performance that I can't think of his name right now, but he's the guy who he's the main actor in Red Dragon, and for some reason I can't put his face to a name right now. But William Peterson's performance in this is amazing, very good. He carries the film on his shoulders, really. I mean, other performances are great, but I think sometimes some of the other actors can overact. Speaking of overacting, let's get into some of the things I don't like about the film. Some of the things I don't like about the film is the overacting of the actor who portrays Hannibal Lecter in this. Yes, Hannibal Lecter is in this movie, but it's not played by Anthony Hopkins. It's played by another actor. And if you know anything about these movies, Manhunter and Red Dragon, you know that Will Graham is someone who, he's the one who arrested Hannibal. And so he's the reason why Hannibal is locked up in the Silence of the Lambs and gets to meet Clarice in Silence of the Lambs. The whole reason Hannibal is in the place he's at in the Silence of the Lambs is because Will Graham arrested him in the mid to late 80s because he figured out that Hannibal was a serial killer. And so in this film, Will Graham goes back to Hannibal in the same way that Clarice is looking for Buffalo Bill. Well, Will Graham goes back to Lecter for advice to find the Red Dragon. And so, to say the least, Hannibal Lecter does give him some advice, but he's a little nasty too and plays some tricks on Will Graham and puts his family in danger. But all in all, guys, oh, and I also don't like some of the 80s music that's in here. Now, the instrumental stuff is fine. I don't mind the instrumentals in this film at all. But some of the music with the lyrics in it are just kind of over the top and cheesy. And I don't really think it aged well in that respect. But I think all in all, it's a very good film. It stands up to the test of time. I think it has aged mostly very well. And it's one of my favorite true crime type of serial killer type films. But that's it, guys. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of Manhunter from 1986, starring William Peterson and directed by Michael Mann. I'm going to pull through this drive-thru now and get some Burger King, but peace out, peasants. Have a good night. Peace out. Bye-bye.